What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Quality Talks Bite Size. I'm Stu Day, your host for this episode. I've got an interesting topic I want to chat with you all about today. This has been something that's sort of been bouncing around my brain for a while, and it's come up in a few different conversations I've been having, and also I talked about this specific topic in a blog post that I put out on our Quality Talks blog beginning of August, I think it was, and that blog is all about everything starts and ends with people. But the particular part that I want to pull out and talk about today is very much focused around the challenges that we create for ourselves within our own organizations. When we're looking at performance management, so performance reviews, end of year reviews, all focusing around people. And the issue that I want to sort of bring up is something that I've sort of called, and I've been calling it for quite a while now, which is bonus driven development. Yes, BDD, people, BDD, but not the BDD that we've all come to know and love and loathe, and all that good stuff. No, this is bonus driven development. And I call this out in the blog in terms of the challenges this causes us when we're trying to look at building a culture that is focused very much around quality, and quality being sort of the responsibility of everybody in a team, looking at how and setting teams up to work collaboratively, making sure they've got all the right skill sets and knowledge and mindset and all that great stuff. That can all be undone by the way in which we measure people's performance. So the whole performance management process. And I want to get into this a little bit because I can safely say that I've not worked anywhere that's really got this down and nailed it, and has an approach that I think is consistent and works for everybody. There's some good things about different ways of doing things, but then there's some really sort of disruptive approaches as well. So I want to sort of just tap into that, but then talk a little bit about maybe how we can adapt some of those approaches, or if we are in a position of, well, this is just the way in which, the format in which we do these reviews, etc. Okay, how can we actually set some goals that are more meaningful, that actually relate to an entire team rather than on an individual basis? But let me just talk a little bit about what I mean by bonus driven development and why it can be very harmful. So for me, bonus driven development is where we create silos within our teams by measuring people against other people and essentially making them compete throughout the year. So I could be sat next to somebody who's doing the same role as me, or they might be doing a different role, but ultimately I'm competing against them based on how I'm going to be measured come mid-year, end of year. And this is something that happens a lot in a lot of organizations, that people are measured against people. And it might be that we're not even measuring like for like types of people. We're measuring, people within a team, for example, or people across teams, measuring different people. And this creates a very siloed type behavior, because if I know that my reward is being measured on an individual level about how I perform versus somebody else or other people at the same level as me in my team or across different teams, I'm going to be kind of thinking about, okay, so how do I get the results I need? How do I get the wins I need? How do I show that I'm, performing and, I'm better than, say, the person sat next to me, or the person sat over the way and doing the same role as me, but in a different team? And that's really disruptive when we're trying to focus on building a culture from a quality perspective, that we really want people to take collaborative ownership. And, we know that we're in this world now where, we're looking at teams to have more of a sort of molded, blended skill set. So, we look to developers to do more testing. We look at, what would be quality engineers to do more coding, those kind of things. But we're never going to be, a quality engineer will probably not write as higher quality code as a developer, a software engineer, because that's their specialism. And a developer, software engineer, will not be able to do the same level and depth of testing that a quality engineer or a software tester will be able to do. And often it then comes down to, well, what do the managers in the team value the most? What is the results that they value the most? What has do they believe has had the biggest impact? And obviously then, bias creeps in, and, such like. And, this is something I've seen over many years of being in different leadership roles. And as I say, I've never worked anywhere that, anywhere's really got it right. But what I've noticed more and more is how much of an impact and how disruptive it can be to, the quality space, which is, everybody, it is everybody's responsibility. So then measuring people as individuals is very disruptive. So thinking about how we can maybe get away from doing that, and as I say, the way in which performance management will be run in your organizations will differ. And often it will be completely out of your control as well. So you won't be able to go and change that process. But maybe what you can do is influence certain things within that process, from a position of leadership, to start setting goals that are more aligned to what the quality vision is, which, the quality vision should also be aligned to the business vision. Okay, so let's not think about quality vision separate to whatever the vision is or the strategy is from a business perspective, but the quality vision should enable the business vision and strategy. Don't forget that. But think about how we can set goals for our teams, and the individuals in our teams that are aligned to that, so that everybody shows how they contribute, collectively. So one way you could do that is, and for me, this would be the absolute preference in terms of just performance management generally, measure team success rather than individual success. So set team goals and then reward teams, so that, if somebody fails in a team, the whole team fails. Now that may seem harsh, but what it drives is a different type of accountability, where everybody then is looking at each other going, well, we all need to do our part here, and how can we help each other be successful? Because if one person falls off, one person doesn't contribute, then there's potential that the whole team will fail. So a great example of this is, I'm going to step out of the tech world for a second. I am a big fan and follower of the NFL, so American football, as you can see up here. I've got a Las Vegas Raiders, as they are now known, helmet and football sat behind me for those that are on audio only. And I've been an NFL fan for many years, since I was about 8 years old. And I followed the same team through the hardships and so on since I was 8 years old. The great thing nowadays is you have more insight into, because of like social media and things like YouTube and stuff like that, you have a lot more insight into the behind the scenes of what happens with these teams and how they set themselves up for success. And I learn a lot from just listening to the coaches and the players, and in terms of their mindsets and how they how they structure their training and their practices and their strategy sessions and all this kind of stuff. And one of the phrases that comes up a lot, especially with I mean, I don't watch every single team, obviously. I just focus on the team that I support. But a lot of what comes up in the press conferences and interviews and podcasts and stuff like that that get put out is this concept of everybody needs to do their 111. Now, what does that mean? Well, in terms of an American football team, there are on each side of the football, so you get the offense and the defense, there's 11 players. And the idea by saying everybody needs to do their 111 is that for the team to be successful, everybody needs to do their individual contribution to the highest possible standard that then connects to what everybody else is doing on that team to make the team successful. So it's not like, they go off and do their own thing because they want to be successful as individuals. No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about every single player on that team doing their 111, doing everything that they need to do, what is expected of them to do, which then supplements everybody else on that team to enable that team to be successful. And if one player doesn't do their thing, then the chances are the rest of the team may falter and fail. They may be able to carry a player, in the sense of maybe one player doesn't have as great a game as as all the rest, and that may be fine. And you look at how we set ourselves up in our teams in tech. We've got a number of different individuals with a number of different skill sets, but we talk about working collaboratively. So how can we then bring that mindset into the tech world and look at how everybody individually has very clear goals on what they need to do to contribute to the overall quality of what the team delivers, but then hold each other accountable to making sure that those things are done. And therefore, if somebody isn't performing, then ultimately the whole team ends up failing, right? So rewarding teams rather than rewarding individuals. That's not to say you don't want to still reward individuals for, exceptional contribution or their progression, i.e. promotion and things like that. But just from a bonus perspective, maybe think about, can we do this from a team point of view rather than just individuals? And what does that look like? It wouldn't be easy. I know it's not easy. I mean, I've had conversations with people around this before. But it's something I think would massively change how we approach the quality, that culture of quality that we're trying to build, because ultimately everybody then, is truly responsible, right? And I keep hearing this thing, if everybody's responsible, nobody's responsible. Well, I completely disagree with that. And you can come at me as much as you like. You can drop your thoughts in the comments, whatever you like. But by making the whole team accountable, making sure that everybody is doing their part, i.e. their 111, then everybody is responsible, right? And collectively, they hold each other accountable to ensure that each of them are doing their part. So it's not about, ownership being, everybody owns it, therefore nobody owns it. No, not at all. So think about that and is that something that you can do in your organization? Are you a people lead? Are you somebody in HR that is, looking at this kind of stuff on a day-to-day basis? If so, maybe it's something you could look at introducing. Are you a director? Are you a CEO? Are you a CTO? Are you in a position where you can influence your performance management process to focus on more team recognition, team reward, team performance versus solely individual. As I say, you still potentially would want to have some sort of individual performance related management, most definitely. But think about it. Is there a way that's something that could be achieved? Don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's too hard in your organizations, but something to think about. If you're a startup, if you're a relatively small organization that does go through this process, then maybe that might be easier to look at there. But if you can't if you can't reward and recognize and measure and manage performance at focusing on the team level, then the other way that you can look at this is that ensuring that everybody in the team has some sort of goals that align to the quality vision, and ensuring that there is accountability and responsibility for every single person in the team, whether that be your software engineers, whether that be your quality engineers, whether that be your delivery leads, product owners, doesn't matter. Just ensuring that you've got goals for people to go after and deliver against that align to quality in some way, what the quality strategy and quality vision is in some way. And often, that is more about the how people are achieving things. Okay, so not just about, oh, we need to deliver this feature. Has this feature been delivered? Yes, great result, people, amazing. Yeah, we delivered it on time. It's how did we do it? What was the quality of what we ultimately put out the door? Have we gathered customer feedback to ensure that we delivered the right thing in the first place? So not just about deploying something to production and there not being any defects or minimal impact in production. Okay, that's one thing you could look at. But actually, have we delivered the right thing? So are we getting positive interactions from our customers, feedback from our customers, etc., etc.? Now, some of that can again be at a team level, but you can also set those sort of goals at an individual level. But you don't want to do them as setting goals that again put people into their own little siloed boxes. Try and set goals that enable the team to work collaboratively. So if you're thinking about your developers writing more automation tests, for example, how can the quality engineer in your team help mentor, assist, guide, support, lead the software developer to ensure that the tests that are being written are of high quality, etc., etc., and things like that. So connecting those goals in some way can again help drive a more collaborative approach to what ultimately is trying to be achieved. Because let's face it, everybody, if you've got a bonus on the line at the end of the year, and you realize that you've got to hit your goals to achieve your bonus, the natural thing is that you're going to focus on your goals, right? And you can have goals that are focused around the community. So say, for example, you're looking to drive community around the quality discipline. That community shouldn't ideally just be quality professionals. Okay, you want software developers in that community, you want product owners in that community, you want delivery leads in that community, you want software engineering managers in that community. So you could set goals for people to contribute to the broader quality community. Okay, and so that you're able to reward people for the time that they spend, and what they achieve and what they contribute and what ultimately they deliver within the broader community, which ultimately drives the culture and builds the culture and builds that we're all in this together type mentality. You can set goals like that. So it doesn't all have to be about the technical side of things. It doesn't need to be about, did we deliver this feature on time? Have we written all these automation tests? Have we, no, it could be about community. It can be about helping others learn and develop and mentor and, those kind of things. All of which will contribute to the overall, value provided to everybody from a quality and cultural perspective. And the thing to remember is that when we're getting to this place of measuring people and managing performance, the line management side of things won't always be the same. So sometimes you'll have a team that is solely line managed. The entire team, that's all individuals in that team, will be line managed by one individual. So it might be a software engineering manager. It might just be an engineering manager by title, or tech lead, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. So that person that has that line management responsibility also has the responsibility and accountability to make sure the goals being set within the team are as I've just been describing. So those goals supplement each other from a quality perspective. But you also want to make sure that, this is something that is consistent across teams. There's no point in one team having this type of approach, but other teams not. It needs to be something that's consistent across different teams. And as a collection of, managers, people leaders, you're all on the same page in terms of the sorts of things that you're going to look at from a quality perspective, what those goals might be, and make sure they're aligned. So there might be certain things in the team that's maybe more nuanced, but the overarching goals, the overarching sort of approach to things should be consistent. So you're being fair to everyone. But not all teams are set up that way. Some teams, some organizational structures are set up whereby the software engineers will line into a software engineering manager, the quality professionals will line into a quality engineering manager, or whatever the title might be. Your product owners will line into the product, maybe a product manager or a head of product or whatever that looks like. Delivery leads the same, that kind of thing. So it's very sort of segregated in terms of the line management. But in that situation, what you need to do is make sure as peers, you're all coming together to make sure the goals that are being set have a lens on quality. And again, thinking about how each discipline, if you like, has goals set that will supplement the other disciplines. So again, you don't want your product team to go and have their own goals that really don't have any connection with the goals set for the software engineers or the quality professionals. You want them to somehow blend and connect and make sure it's the jigsaw piece is coming together and everybody is doing their 111. So you can think of it like a jigsaw. Okay, so you buy a jigsaw, you've got a beautiful picture on the box. You open the box up, you empty all the pieces out, and you go, "Oh my god, it looks nothing like the picture," because guess what? You haven't put all the pieces together yet. Shock horror. But if you think about, if you didn't have that picture and you were trying to build that that jigsaw puzzle without the picture, you didn't know what the picture was supposed to look like, i.e. the connected vision, and the connection of the goals between different disciplines and different people within a team. It starts becoming very difficult to actually put that puzzle together to create that picture, ultimately what it's supposed to look like. So it's the same thing with a team. If you've got you haven't got an aligned approach, aligned vision for quality that then can flow down into each of those different disciplines with different goals that connect, etc., you're going to come out with this really weird end result, and never achieve actually what you're trying to achieve. So, think about how you can do that collectively with your peers. So whether you're a software engineering manager, whether you're a quality engineering manager, who are those other people, that will be setting goals for people? How do they connect? How can they connect? An example of this, could be around, thinking about disciplines like example mapping. So example mapping is a great approach to defining what it is we actually are looking to build and why. Often it's led by product, but it should have input from software engineers, it should have input from quality engineers, and so on. So one of the goals could be that the team is actively using example mapping, and everybody from an individual perspective is contributing to that, and obviously from an evidence perspective, how are they doing that, and such like, and then obviously the result of that is X, Y, and Z. So your product owner would be leading on those example mapping sessions, making sure that they're happening, leading the discussions in those sessions, helping the team understand the why. Why are we thinking about this idea? What problem are we trying to solve? Your software engineers will be thinking about potentially the different scenarios and talking around the how this could be potentially be achieved, and what actually could the art of the possible look like, or what could actually trip us up in from a technology perspective. Because it's one thing to say, yeah, we want to build this thing, but can we actually do it with the technology stack we have, etc., etc. And then obviously from a quality engineering perspective, there's a lot of things around, okay, what are the risks going to be, what are the edge cases going to be, what are the and you can set goals around making sure that people are playing their part into that type of process, if that's a type of process that you have. Are you're mentoring other people, there's a lot of things you can set, as I mentioned before, community-based goals, obviously the delivery type goals, and making sure that everybody's doing their bit. I would shy away from any sort of quantitative goals necessarily, i.e. we've delivered this many stories, or we've written this many tests, or we've achieved this percentage, this coverage, because it shouldn't really be about the percentage of coverage. It should be about the coverage of the business risk, and making sure we've collectively we've achieved the mitigating the risks that we said we were going to mitigate. So think about it from a risk mitigation perspective rather than a percentage of coverage necessarily. But there's a number of different roles, different types of goals that you can potentially set. But we need to get away from this. We're going to compare this person with this person, and these people have had different types of goals. They've had they're focused on their siloed result. They're focused on their own personal development. What's in it for me? Sorry, I can't help out in the community right now because I've got my goals, and that doesn't align with my goals at all. It makes it really hard. And I've seen it firsthand in a number of different places that I've been. It makes it extra hard, and it doesn't need to be extra hard if we can just align goals in a much better way to focus on, from a quality perspective. And you can do this from other disciplines as well, right? But quality is not a discipline. Quality is a holistic thing that we all need to contribute to. And by doing it in a way that people have got aligned goals and are moving in the same direction, ultimately creates a better team environment. Ultimately it creates a higher quality product at the end of the day, and everybody can hold each other accountable for making sure that they do their bit. And this whole, if everybody's responsible then nobody's responsible sort of thought pattern goes out the window completely. As I say, I completely disagree with that anyway. And but you do have to set your teams up in the right way to achieve it. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk through it really. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it, share my ideas on it, think about how we can potentially, flip the script a little bit, change that narrative, change how we're approaching it. And yeah, let me know. Let me know if you've got any challenges around this type of performance management structure approach that you've seen that has an impact on what you might be trying to do from a quality perspective, or just more generally, just what are the sort of behaviors that you're seeing that it drives. Is it driving siloed behaviors? Is it have you got an approach to your performance management that it works really well and it does actually align? And love to hear more about that, so definitely drop that in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts on this topic. And just let me know. But yeah, that's it for the episode. It's a nice short one, nice bite-sized episode for everybody to get their teeth into, have a think about. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has done already. Really appreciate it. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. I'll let you get back to what you're doing. And we'll talk again on another episode of Quality Talks podcast. Take care for now.